Are you trying to wake me up? Yes, boost for the last session. So we have been talking about the MOS algorithms. So there are these pass-fail algorithms which require operator interpretation. So I'll be describing them briefly. So what we are talking about, BGNT, background noise transmission. And there are basically two tests that carry this name, background noise transmission, and they are background noise transmission with far-end sound and background noise transmission with near-end sound. So these are running these tests is relatively simple. You have, again, for instance, mobile phone at the dummy head, and you have background noise going on, and you run two tests, one, background noise only, and the second test is background noise plus speech, and the speech is either near-end, meaning the dummy head is talking, or the speech is far-end, which means it comes from the other side. So background noise transmission with far-end is basically echo test during background noise. So that's the specialty in the there that we are doing these tests in the presence of background noise.
네, 지금은 이제 백그라운드가 주인공이 되는 백그라운드 특성에 대한 측정이 되겠는데요. 예전에 보다폰이라든가 여러 사업자에서 사용했었는데 지금은 빠졌습니다. 요거 측정하는 거는 이제 두 가지를 먼저 측정하는데요. 주변 노이즈만 먼저 DUT, 시료의 마이크로 전달해서 그 특성을 저 검은색 선으로 이제 측정하게 되고요. 그 다음에 이제 조건을 줍니다. 시료에 스피커가 말하거나 아니면 내가 말하거나 해치가 말하거나 두 가지 조건을 줘서 이제 니어엔드하고 파엔드. 파엔드는 이제 상대방이 말하는 조건이고요. 니어엔드는 내가 말하는 조건. 그 두 가지 조건일 때 그 주변 노이즈가 어떤 특성을 가지고 있는지, 이제 유럽적인 관점으로 아까 말한 것처럼 주변 노이즈가 죽으면 안 되거든요. 아예 없어지면 안 되거든요. 그 특성이 이제 살아야 된다는 그 테스트가 되겠습니다.
So the test setup for the far end test is you have the background noise going on, and we put the test signal into the device, and actually the line should go from, the red line should actually go from the measurement system to the radio network simulator, and from there to DUT, and then back. So basically, we are looking, again, if you think that, for instance, this side would be simulating like, this side could be like, for instance, car hands-free device, and then the far end would be like landline subscriber, somebody calling from home to somebody who is driving a car. So we are testing the hands-free device in the car, but we are looking it from the point of view of the landline subscriber. So you're sitting at home and you're calling your friend who is driving driving a car. That's basically the test setup here. So the device under test is, of course, the car hands-free device, but we are looking from the landline subscriber point of view. And as I said, the idea is that you have two measurements. One measurement is reference. That would be, for instance, here the green line. We just record the background noise. Background noise is on, and we are recording the sending direction. We are recording the uplink from the device under test. Then we put in far-end signal to the device under test, and we run the same test. And we overlap these two curves, and we are looking what happens to the background noise transmission when we have a far-end signal going on. So basically what we are asking is, what is the effect of the echo canceller to the background noise transmission?
네, 에코 캔슬러 성능을 보기 위해서 이제 상대방이 말하는 조건에 걸고요. 그다음에 주변 노이즈를 이제 측정하게 되는데 DUT 마이크로 이제 저기 보시면 7초부터 12초 정도까지는 이제 상대방이 말하는 구간입니다. 그때 주변 노이즈만 먼저 측정을 하게 됩니다. 그 레퍼런스 신호로 검은색 저 그래프가 이제 레퍼런스 신호가 되는 거고요. 이제 두 번째 초록색 신호는 상대방이 말하는 조건일 때 어떻게 이제 전달되는지 마이크로 전달되는 신호를 두 개를 겹쳐서 이제 상대 평가를 하게 됩니다.
So I have here a couple of examples. So the light gray in my pictures, that's the far end signal. It's just there to remind you where do you have that far end signal so that we can interpret the green and black curves more easily. So the black curve is the reference, so transmitted background noise without signal at far end. So the black curve has been recorded when there was no signal going on. So that one is just the background noise. And the green curve is then background noise plus far end, what the device is sending. This here would be an ideal test result. Or if we are looking at here, here the blue is the reference and green is the far end. Here you can see a small difference in the background noise transmission. But this is just one small glitch, and typically we say if it's less than 10 decibels, it's okay. Because you have to remember, it's the landline subscriber where we are looking at this. So when you are talking, you're not so sensitive to the changes what you hear. So when you talk, you are self-masking. So that's why we typically keep 10 dB as the rule of thumb, that if you have a difference more than 10 dB, then it is remarkable. Anything below 10 dB, you can say it doesn't disturb. So this would be a very, very good example. This would be just one single glitch and less than 10 dB.
네, 유럽적인 관점으로 이제 접근을 하게 되는데요. 이 그래프 보시는 것처럼 이제 상대방이 말할 때 주변 노이즈 전달되는 특성이 약간 떨어지는 걸 볼 수가 있습니다. 이 캐릭터 자체가 10dB보다 더 떨어지면 안 되고요. 상대방이 이제 어디에 있든지 내가 있는 위치를 그대로 전달할 수 있어야 된다는 그런 가정이 있습니다. 내가 공장에 있으면 공장에 있는 환경을 그대로 이제 재현해 줄 수 있게끔, 뭐 상대방이 말한다고 내가 말한다고 중간에 이제 노이즈가 죽으면 안 되거든요. 그러면 갑자기 불안하게 느낀다는 그런 심리적인 반영이 있습니다.
But I have here then a much worse example. If you look here in the beginning and in the end, the blue and green curves, they are more or less the same. And this is of course what we expect, because here we don't have any far end signal, and also here the far end signal has stopped. So we are expecting that in the beginning and in the end the signals should be exactly the same. They are not exactly the same, but this small variation there, it keeps fully in limits. But here in between, you can see that how the background noise transmission is really reduced when you have a far end signal happening. This is basically an example of, let's say, very simple echo canceller. Echo canceller is simply looking, oh, there is a far end signal coming, I will reduce the sensitivity of the microphone. And as the result, the background noise level is also dropped. So this is basically a case where the echo canceller is working. It's very simple echo canceller, and what it does is it just reduces the microphone sensitivity, but the result is that the background noise what we are sending towards the network is also decreased. Again, if it's less than 10 dB, it's okay, but I have seen devices which are basically, they don't just reduce the microphone sensitivity, they kill the microphone, which creates a very uncomfortable pumping feeling in the background noise. It's not something that you want to listen at home when you are talking to somebody who is driving in a car.
네, 저희 결과 보듯이 이제 전달되는 신호 자체, 노이즈 자체도 죽어버리게 되면은 이제 그 부분이 좀 마이크 동작이라든가 그 부분도 문제가 생길 수 있거든요. 그래서 그런 부분을 좀 이제 보기 편하게 두 개를 비교해서 이제 분석하는 겁니다.
And as a final example, I have here on the bottom again, the blue one is the reference, and you can see the green one is pumping up and down. So what this one is basically saying is that here really what happens that every time when you have a downlink signal, the echo canceller kills the microphone. So that is the result why the green curve is, here is a speech pause, so it returns almost to normal. During every speech pause, it returns to normal, but during the speech, there is more than 10 dB attenuation. So this would be very, very bad behavior, and this would be also a clear failure. There is also a good question that in the beginning, the green and blue curves are on top of each other, but after, they should be on top of each other. But again, we have a big difference. This is most likely badly behaving gain control, which is creating this effect. This is most likely not related to the noise canceller in any way, but this behavior here is really very simple, very stupid echo canceller, which is just killing the microphone and releasing it, killing it, releasing it, and you get this pumping background noise, which is very uncomfortable to listen to in the far end.
네, 결과를 보듯이 상대방이 말할 때마다 마이크가 이제 살아났다 죽어났다 이렇게 노이즈 자체가 주변 노이즈가 이렇게 튀듯이 전달이 되고요. 상대방이 말을 안 하는 구간에서도 갑자기 노이즈가 크게 증폭돼서 전달되는 걸 볼 수가 있습니다.
Yeah. So the other test that we do here is the background noise transmission with near end, which is otherwise the same, but it is the dummy head who is talking. And the big difference here in the interpretation is that we are not looking what happens during the speech, because of course, when the dummy head is talking, of course the device is sending that. So during speech, we can't do any analysis. We do the analysis during the pauses. So that's the big difference in analyzing the far end and near end. Far end is analyzed during the speech. Near end is analyzed during the pauses.
네, 백그라운드는 파인드 기준으로 봤을 때는 저게 스피치 구간에 중점적으로 보게 되고요. 니어엔드, 시료 마이크로 이제 해치가 말해야 할 때는 그 말을 멈춘 사이 그때를 이제 어떻게 전송되는지 그 특성을 보게 됩니다.
So again, so there's the test setup. So again, we send the signal to the dummy head mouth. The mouth is talking. We have the background noise going on, and we are recording what the device is sending. And again, we do two measurements. The first one is a reference, meaning just background noise. And the second one is the actual measurement where we have both background noise and speech happening. So in the curves again, we have the near-end signal as a reference. The green one is the uplink from the phone when we have the near-end signal, and the black one is the original background noise. So this here would be an ideal test case. So when there is no speech, the background noise is transmitted the same way. And when there is speech happening, of course, the speech is transmitted. But we are doing our analysis here during the speech pauses. Here is, for instance, one example that you can see that, first of all, in the beginning, there is a certain kind of convergence happening. So you can see that the speech level is not stable in the beginning. But afterwards, you can see that the speech level is very stable, but the noise level is not stable. The green curve should be here where the red curve is. So the green curve, it has this downward slope, which is a bit of question where is that behavior coming from. But in ideal case, the green curve should look exactly the same as the red one during the speech pauses. So this behavior here is somewhat strange, and we would need to investigate further where is this coming from in this particular phone.
네, 주변 노이즈가 있는 상태에서 마이크로 이제 신호를 보냈을 때, 스피치 신호를 보냈을 때 주변 노이즈에 따라서 저렇게 노이즈가 증가하기도 하고요. 스피치 신호가 일정하게 나와야 되는데 저렇게 감소했다가 다시 증가하는 것을 볼 수가 있습니다.
Then I have a case of which is a clear failure, because you can see that during the speech pauses, the noise level is varying a lot. So you can see that it's not even stable. We are sometimes here at -25, sometimes we are close to the original, which is -40. So we have definitely more than 10 dB variation in the background noise, most probably due to AGC, but this would be a clear fail for this case, because the background noise is varying definitely more than 10 dB. Like I said, 10 dB is a rule of thumb what we are using in these tests.
네, 결과 보듯이 이제 스피치까지 같이 왜곡돼서 이제 레벨이 작게 전송되는 걸 볼 수가 있습니다.
And finally, a good example. By the way, in your script there is a wrong text next to this slide. Sorry for that, but this is actually an ideal test case. So you can see that during the speech pauses, the background noise is transmitted very much like the original. There are small variations, but these are very short in time. So even though they are sometimes close to 10 dB, they are so short that you might not be able to notice them at all. So with this near end and far end BGNT, you need to interpret the curves yourself. So that's the biggest minus point of these, that these tests rely on the operator experience. You need a bit of experience in how to read these curves. Doing the tests is relatively straightforward, but reading the curves needs a certain amount of experience. And this can also mean that even if two people are looking at the same result, especially in borderline cases, one person could say fail, one person could say pass, because there's a certain amount of interpretation coming into these results.
이번 측정은 이제 사용자가 측정한 결과를 보고 이제 평가를 내려야 됩니다. 이게 좋은지 나쁜지를 평가를 해야 되는데 그 단순히 저 레벨만 가지고 봐서는 안 되고요. 상대방이 느끼지 못할 정도로 짧은 시간이면 무시해도 됩니다. 그 부분은 이제 좀 안 좋은 점인데 예, 사용자가 평가를 해야 됩니다.
조금 더 코멘트를 하면요. 여기 이제 예를 들면 퀄컴이라든지 아니면 리얼텍 칩 여러 가지 사용할 때 보면 안에 DSP 튜닝을 하지 않습니까? 샌딩당, 22단 이런 거에 대해서 이제 나중에 다 튜닝을 하게 될 텐데, 여기서 나온 아까 저 그림을 보면서 내가 지금 노이즈 서프레션, 어쿠스틱 에코 캔슬레이션, 어쿠스틱 에코 서프레션이 지금 얼마만큼 잘 되고 있는지에 대해서 튜닝할 때 이 측정 데이터를 이용을 하면, BGNT 측정 데이터를 이용을 하면 내가 지금 과도하게 들어가 있는 건지, 거기 보면 이제 오늘 그런 부분에 설명이 많이 안 드리고 내일 이런 부분에 설명이 더 들어가 있긴 한데요. 어그레시브니스 값을 넣게 돼 있거든요. 어그레시브니스 값을 100%를 할 건지 80%를 할 건지 60%를 할 건지에 따라서 이게 스피치 퀄리티가 어떻게 바뀌는지, 노이즈 리덕션이 어떻게 되고 내가 얼마만큼 더 줄여줄 건지 하는 부분에 대해서 이제 실제로는 청감상으로 듣고 하는데 이 헤드 어쿠스틱스 이 장비를 이용을 하면 우리가 정량적으로 보면서 어떻게 이제 그걸 샌딩 단에 대해서 파라미터를 할 건지 리시빙 단에서 파라미터를 수정할 건지에 대해서 정확하게 알 수 있겠죠. 그 타겟을 튜닝 파라미터를 정할 때 굉장히 유용한 기능이라고 생각하시면 됩니다.
So there is one more MOS value that I want to introduce, and that one is called listening effort. So the 3 quest that I was talking earlier, please keep in mind 3 quest is always measured in sending direction, in uplink, because that's where your noise canceller is located. But now comes the question, well, we also have the case that I have to listen to my phone in a loud environment. How can we evaluate the speech quality with background noise in the receiving direction? And that's where the listening effort comes into play. So when we are listening to a signal in a noisy environment, of course, it impacts the intelligibility. And of course, you can't cancel the environmental noise. Of course, if you have ANC headset, you can do, but if you have a mobile phone, the mobile phone cannot reduce your background noise. It can reduce the noise in uplink, but it cannot reduce the noise in the receiving direction. So there are a couple of techniques what you can do to reduce the listening effort. There is this one technique is called artificial bandwidth extension. You have a narrow band signal and you fake a wideband signal out of it, trying to make it easier to understand, to increase the intelligibility. And there is what you can call near-end listening enhancement. Simple way is, if it's a very loud room, the phone simply becomes louder. That's a very simple near-end listening enhancement. You can also do spectral shaping, because you know that the background noise is typically low frequency. So what you can do is you could increase the mid frequencies in the speech, trying to separate it from the background noise. So this is one way of so-called near-end listening enhancement. And another application where this listening effort comes into play is in-car communication. In-car communication means not the hands-free device in car, but using microphones and speakers inside the car to make the communication easier. Simply microphone picking up the person's voice and the speakers enhancing that speech so that it would be easier to understand. There are some high-end vehicles which already start to have this in-car communication, especially American cars, because, you know, big cars where the back seat is 10 meters from the front seat, so you already need some help in understanding what somebody is saying on the front seat. So especially on American cars, you already start to have these ICC systems. And the question is, how do we evaluate them?
네, 뭐 간단히 설명한 것처럼 큰 차라든가 리무진 뒤에 있는 사장님하고 이제 얘기하기 위한 운전자하고 얘기하기 위한 그런 인식하는 청음에 대한 그런 인식률을 높이기 위해서는 여러 가지 알고리즘이 있게 되는데요. 헤드에서 이제 만든 게 주변 노이즈 환경에서 어떻게 그걸 이해할 수 있는지, 그거를 어떤 노력을 기울여서 이제 평가를 해야 되는지, 그거에 대해서 이제 드래프트 버전으로 이제 만들고 있습니다.
지금 나오는 거는 사운드 퀄리티 측정하는 거하고 스피치 퀄리티하고 약간 다른 범주예요. 예, 전혀 다른 이야기고, 지금부터 나오는 것들 일종의 보면 스피치 인텔리지빌리티, 음성 명료도하고 약간 관련이 있는 부분이에요. 그러니까 말귀를 알아들어야 듣는 게 1번이기 때문에 우리가 통화를 하는 목적이 품질 보려고 하는 게 아니고 말귀 알아들으려고 하는 거 아닙니까? 그렇죠? 그래서 이제 근데 이제 이게 주변이 너무 시끄럽다 보면 내가 어떻게 할 수 있는 부분이 아니니까 주변이 시끄럽다 보면 내가 지금 주변 이 노이즈에 비해서 지금 들리고 있는 요 상대방이 말하는 요 시그널이 얼마만큼 명료하게 들리는지를 평가해야 될 거 아닙니까, 그렇죠? 왜냐하면 여기는 이제 노이즈 시뮬레이션하는 장비들이 다 있으니까 그런 노이즈 환경을 만들어 놓고 상대방이 이야기하는 거를 내가 얼마나 잘 명료하게 이해할 수 있는지에 대해서를 갖다가 모스 점수를 해가지고 1, 2, 3, 4, 5번을 하겠다라는 얘기예요. 이게 그런 관점에서 이게 지금 새로 제안이 되고 만들어지고 하는 부분이라서 이거는 뭐 아까 뭐 패스크 뭐 폴카 이런 거하고 뭐가 다릅니까? 스리캐스트하고 뭐가 다릅니까? 전혀 다른 얘기예요. 이거는 그냥 말귀를 알아듣는 정도라고 생각하시면 그래. 리스닝 애프터 내가 얼만큼 주의를 기울여서 포커스를 상대방이 말하는 거를 기울여서 들어도 되는지 그냥 쉽게 잘 들린다고 하면 말 알아듣는다고 하면 굳이 내가 이렇게 노력을 할 필요가 없는 거잖아요. 듣는데 그렇죠? 이제 그런 관점에서 리스닝 애프터라는 이런 어떤 개념을 도입을 하게 된 겁니다.
So the question then is that what are the problems in the existing algorithms? Of course, there's lots of existing algorithms, but this is just listing a bit of the why do we need a new algorithm for the listening effort? In general, measuring the speech intelligibility is difficult because you are very often relying on auditory testing, on subjective testing, and as we learned this morning, subjective testing takes a lot of time and it takes a lot of money. So it is time and resource hungry to do subjective testing. So that's the main minus point of the speech intelligibility. There are other algorithms which possibly could be used, but if we are looking at speech transmission index, STI, so stipa, stitel, rasti, they are using very artificial test signals, and especially if you have a speech codec included, the STI cannot be used reliably. The algorithm doesn't work with a speech codec. SII, Speech Intelligibility Index, is otherwise okay, but it requires a stationary background noise. So you could use SII in a car because the car noise is very stable, but if you want to measure with a background noise that is varying a lot, like a cafeteria noise or roadside noise, you're going to end up problems with SII. PESC and Polka, noise is out of scope, and 3Quest, it covers noise, but it's in the wrong direction. It's the sending direction, it's the uplink, and we are interested about downlink receiving performance. So you can basically say that speech intelligibility problem is that it's subjective testing, and then all the other algorithms, they have some minus points, which means that you can't use them for all cases, and we would like to have something that is usable across the board.
네, 다양한 방법이 있는데 적합한 방법이 없기 때문에 이제 새로운 거 이제 제안하고 이제 만들고 있는 과정이 되겠습니다.
뒤에 시간을 안 걸린다 그러더라고요. 지금 그 여러 가지 음성 명료도를 측정할 수 있는 다른 인자들이 있는데 여러분 잘 아시는 음성 명료도 STI, 내일 이게 좀 더 깊이 있는 설명이 아마 나올 겁니다. STI 방법이 있는데 이거는 스피치 코덱에서는 사용할 수가 없어요. 그래서 이거 여러분들이 뭐 이렇게 명료도 측정할 때 뭐 스티파 장비 가지고 막 핸들 장비 들고 다니면서 테스트하는 사람들이 있는데 이거 굉장히 조심해야 될 게 코덱이 있으면 안 됩니다. 그거는 그게 공간에 대한 전달 특성을 재기 위한 거지 안에 그 음원 시그널 자체가 노이즈 리덕션 알고리즘이라든지 코덱 이런 거에 대해서 이게 그 들어갈 때 이미 신호 자체가 그 왜곡이 되고 변형이 되기 때문에 그 공간 특성을 잴 수가 없어요. 그거 굉장히 조심하셔야 됩니다. 그래서 지금 스티파 이런 것들이 잴 수가 없어요. 그 외에 이제 나오는 것들이 이제 지금 그러니까 3캐스트 아까 이야기가 나온 것도 있고요. 그래서 어쨌든 지금 그 스티파가 왜 이게 안 되는지에 대해서 제가 잠깐 첨언해 드렸습니다.
So the design requirements for the listening effort algorithm are, first of all, we want to use real speech as the test signal. No artificial signals anymore. Real speech. So the algorithm has to work with real speech and also including codecs. We want a realistic background noise simulation. So the algorithm has to work with complex background noises, not just stationary noise. And the third absolute requirement for the algorithm is that it has to work in a black box test case. The algorithm is not allowed to rely on any internal information from the device. So that's what the black box testing means. You put a signal to the device, you get a signal out. You don't know what is happening inside the device. And again, when we are doing, for instance, benchmarking tests, we don't have any access to the internals of the device. So if we want to test those devices, we have to have a black box algorithm which doesn't rely on internals of the device under test. So these three requirements were the requirements what the standardization put for the work with the listening effort. Real speech, realistic background noise, and black box approach.
네, 다양한 방법으로 이제 리얼 스피치를 통해 가지고 이제 안정적인 소음 환경이 아닌 상태에서 측정할 수 있는 그런 알고리즘을 만들고 있고요. 그게 출시되면 제가 또 정보를 알려드리겠습니다.
On this slide, the most important thing is actually the graph, which is there to explain that why are we interested about the listening effort? And the reason is that when your signal-to-noise ratio gets really bad, the speech quality, MOS, basically goes down to 1, and you can't separate between devices anymore. When you're listening to them, you can still separate that, okay, this device is bad, and this device is really bad. But both cases are speech quality MOS 1. But the listening effort will cover a different area. So if we put the SNR on a horizontal line, you can say that the speech quality is covering this area, but the listening effort can go to lower SNRs. And that's where we are interested about, that we can separate the bad from the really bad.
네, 음질하고 좀 겹치는 부분이 있긴 하지만 스피치가 무조건 높다고 해서 좋은 건 아니기 때문에 저런 SNR에 따라서 이제 커버하는 영역이 좀 다르다는 걸 볼 수가 있습니다.
지금 아까 우리가 스피치 퀄리티 해가지고 MOS 점수를 개선했잖아요, 그렇죠? 뭐 3캐스트부터 해가지고 폴카 여러 가지 점수를 냈는데 예를 들면 이게 점수가 굉장히 나빠요. 뭐 1점밖에 안 나왔다고 봐봐요. 1점, 2점대 그러면 이거 쓰레기네 이렇게 생각할 수 있는데 사실 그 쓰레기 내에서도 굉장히 또 넓은 스펙트럼이 있습니다. 왜냐 그러면 이 스피치 퀄리티가 쓰레기지만 음성 명료도를 갖다가 정확하게 알아들을 수 있는 말도 있고요. 완전히 내가 못 알아들을 수도 있어요. 무슨 말인지 못 알아들을 수도 있고 그 쓰레기 점수에서도 이거는 말이 잘 들리는 경우도 있다고요. 그래서 음성 품질하고 음성 명료도는 전혀 다른 이야기입니다. 그래서 음성 품질만 가지고 이 어떤 전화기 이런 것들을 갖다가 좋다 나쁘다 이야기하는 것들은 약간 좀 잘못된 접근 방식이에요. 그래서 음성 명료도 부분을 더 봐야 된다라는 얘기고, 그렇게 해서 이제 헤드 어쿠스틱스에서는 여기 이제 리스닝 애프터라는 개념을 이번에 더한 거예요. 그러니까 스피치 퀄리티 모스 점수가 나쁘다고 해서 무조건 전화 통화할 때 못 알아듣는 건 아니라는 거죠. 뭐 내일도 여기에 대해서 제가 좀 더 이야기를 하겠지만 음성 명료도하고 음성 품질은 전혀 다른 얘기입니다. 물론 서로 다 연관이 있죠. 음성 품질이 나빠지면 당연히 음성 명료도도 나빠지고 경향은 같지만 이 값이 절대적으로 내가 통화하는 데 있어서 그 말귀를 못 알아듣는지 하고는 다른 이야기라는 거죠. 이런 것들이 주로 적용된 게 바로 이제 비상방송 장비입니다. 자동차에서 이퀄 시스템이라든지 아니면 소방 방제 시스템 같은 경우에는 뭐 군용 이런 거 같은 경우에는 말귀만 알아듣으면 되죠. 야, 품질이 정말 원음이랑 똑같은데 이건 아무 소용이 없습니다. 그것 때는. 예, 그때 이제 나오는 그 측정 방법이 따로 있는 거고, 이번에 이제 거기에 대해서 헤드 어쿠스틱스도 리스닝 애프터라는 개념으로 해가지고 이런 것들을 개발하게 된 이유가 거기에 있습니다.
So the standardization is still ongoing. So there is a draft standard in ETSI, the 103558, and the assessment of the listening effort is according to ITUP 800. So again, it's an MOS score, but this is basically this is not absolute category rating, but this is more degradation category rating. And the score goes that, again, 1 is the worst, 5 is the best. 5 means no effort required. So when you're listening to the speech, you can understand it without putting any effort into it. You don't have to strain to listen to it. 4 means you have to concentrate, but it's not much of an effort. So 5 is really no effort needed. 4 means you need to concentrate, but it's not tiring you over time. 3 means moderate effort is needed. 2 means considerable effort is needed. And listening effort 1 means forget it. It doesn't matter how much you try, you can't understand anything. So 1 is really completely hopeless case. It's impossible to understand what is being said. So the official definition is no meaning understood with any feasible effort. So it's very fancy way of saying I don't understand anything. But that's what the score 1 is. So. We are, Head Acoustics is one part in ETSI doing this algorithm, so we are carrying the main work of implementing the algorithm, but again the subjective listening tests that are required here have been done by several other companies, and the finalization is expected in 2019, so I don't have more detailed timeline. I confirmed with my colleague who is in the standardization, and he said that the first version might come out in the summer. It might last until autumn before the first version is out. But of course, also in our measurement system, as soon as the standard is there, we will have the algorithm available in our measurement system.
네, 지금 2019년도에 이제 출시될 거를 이제 예상하고 있고요. 이신여 박사님 말씀하신 것처럼 저희가 이제 상대방이 좀 이해할 수 있는 자동차라든가 그런 비상시, 생명이 위급한 상황 그런 조건일 때 명료도에 대한 부분을 이제 측정할 수 있는 그런 알고리즘이 되겠습니다.
Okay, then very briefly summarizing the background noise speech quality tests that I have been talking so far. So we can separate two groups. First of all, we have the algorithms which are, of course, they are instrumental, meaning you use equipment and software to do the tests. These are not subjective tests, these are not auditory tests, but they are instrumental tests. But what is common for 3Quest and listening effort is that they are based on the human perception, and they provide you an MOS score. So you get the mean opinion score out of them. Of course, the other ones here, they are also instrumental. You use equipment to do the test, but you don't get anything related to human perception. You get some kind of a technical value out of them. You get some dB value as the ANR or SNRI, and the BGNT additionally requires human interpretation. You need an operator interpreting the result, and the result is a very simple pass-fail. So there is no more information included in the BGNT test except it's a pass or it is a fail.
네, 지금까지 설명해드린 게 이제 주관적으로 사람이 평가하던 모스 그 값을 이제 객관적으로 이제 수치로 평가하는 방법들이 있고요. 그다음에 도구를 통해서 이제 수치적으로 숫자적으로 이제 결과가 나오는 ANR, D-value, SNRI가 있습니다. 그리고 측정된 결과를 보고 이제 평가를 내리는 패스페일에 이제 평가하게 되는 BGNT, 주변 노이즈 특성에 대해서 이제 하는 저런 측정 방법들이 있겠습니다.
So to summarize them, that 3Quest gives you an MOS interpretation of the noise suppression. So you have the SMOS, NMOS, and GMOS. The BGNT techniques, they are useful, especially when you are checking the cooperation between echo canceller and noise canceller. That's where the BGNT techniques, they are really useful. They're a bit difficult to interpret, but they have their own field of application. And then listening effort is especially intended for difficult SNR scenarios and for receiving direction. So we can summarize that all of the noise suppression metrics, they give some light into, they tell you something about the noise suppression, but each of them have their own pros and cons. Each of them have their good points and bad points. So when you are selecting which metric you are using, you need to know what is your device under test, and you need to know the pluses and minuses of the different measurement methods to apply them correctly.
네, 지금까지 많은 알고리즘을 설명해 드렸는데요. 더 좋은 시료를 만들기 위해서 이제 다양한 방법으로 더 실제적인 환경과 그런 구축을 위해서 이제 하는 알고리즘들이 이제 생기게 되었습니다.
Okay, that concludes the part about speech quality and background noise, and I would like to move on to the last section, which is a bit different area, but it is becoming so common in our everyday life, which is automatic speech recognition, so ASR, testing speech recognition. So just a couple of statistics that the voice recognition is becoming more and more used. So last year, January, 28%, I think these are from US market, so from United States, the statistics, that 28% own a smart speaker. And in August, just 7 months later, the percentage had already grown from 28 to 32. So the smart speakers is a really growing market. But that's not the only place where the speech recognition is used. It is very, very widely used in cars. So you are talking more and more to your car and using your voice to control it. So the smart speakers and home automation is then another thing which is driving this speech recognition. So also a bit of statistics from the frequency of a use of a voice assistant is that 44% of people, again, this is from mid last year and from US market, are using voice assistant multiple times a day. Typically this is talking to your mobile phone, using the Siri or Google or any other of these speech assistants that are available. So the voice recognition is really becoming more and more used in different applications.
네, 음성 인식에 대해서 저렇게 미국 통계를 보시면 점점 증가하는 것을 볼 수가 있습니다.
This is also, so last year you had this Google Assistant that it could separate between different users. And then Google Home, actually what I will be using here for a demo, you could use it to do free calls. And then later on, what Google added is this different languages. For instance, Amazon Alexa has added more functionality, like for instance, whisper mode. that when you are talking quietly to Alexa, Alexa is also answering quietly. For instance, if you have children who are getting to sleep, so if you want to ask something, you can whisper to Alexa and you get an answer also as a whisper in order to not to wake up the children, for instance. And also what Amazon calls Alexa hunches, meaning that the Amazon Alexa is, for instance, if you are saying to Alexa, good morning, it then infers that, okay, it's morning, and typically the user has a coffee in the morning, so Alexa might answer, should I put the coffee pot on? So there is more inference from the environment that what you are saying to the speech assistant and knowing what time of day it is, the devices can learn what are the habits of the people and then provide more services. So this is also how those devices are becoming smarter and how you can use them more in your daily life.
네, 음성 인식을 통해서 이제 다양한 방법이 이제 제품들이 나오게 되었고요. 뭐 예전에 영화 본 게 생각나네요. 허라고 해가지고 이제 가상 비서하고 얘기하는 부분들이 있었는데, 네, 그런 부분까지 이제 점점 진화되는 것 같습니다.
And both Amazon and Google are also targeting the cars, because this has been a problem with the car manufacturers that especially when you are relying on the onboard processing power, the speech recognition is not necessarily that good in a car, because you have to remember that when you are talking to your phone or to a smart speaker, it's not doing the processing on its own. It's sending the speech to cloud and getting the result from there. But if we have speech recognition in a car, you can't always rely that you have an internet connection over mobile network to your car. So that is why cars might have to fall back to using the onboard processing power, which means much more limited speech recognition.
일단 음성 인식을 평가하기 위해서는 그 음성이 평가되는 서버까지 갔다가 와야 되는데 좀 막아놓은 부분이 많이 있습니다. 그런 부분이 있기 때문에 제조사 같은 경우는, 자동차 같은 경우는 그 음성 인식 서버까지 가기 전에 그 단에서 이제 인식하는지를 평가하게 되면 뭐 효과적으로 이제 평가할 수 있을 거라 생각됩니다.
So why is the ASR performance then, what can affect it? One is, of course, variety of users. Different people have different way of talking. So especially if the speech recognition algorithm has not have any time to get used to that particular user, the speech recognition might not work that perfectly. One aspect is, of course, language. Which language is being used? Is the language something that you have to pre-select, or is it a hot swapping, that if I now speak English and if I then say something in German immediately, does the system understand that? User accent is an important thing. For instance, in Germany, there were tests for the speech recognition in a car, and I think the title of the article was, Does your car speak Bavarian? Bavaria is the south part of Germany, and they have a very strong regional accent. And actually, for instance, for me, well, German is not my mother tongue, but I'm more accustomed to the West German, so north-south in the middle, and then West German accent. So if I have somebody who is talking with a very strong South German accent, I have a hard time understanding. And also in the cars, they noticed that this was very difficult. In United Kingdom, Scottish accent is a very known difficult thing for speech recognition to understand. So if you have somebody with a very heavy regional accent, of course, one aspect is that I might not talk to the device with my mother tongue. My mother tongue is Finnish, but if the device doesn't support Finnish, I might opt in talking in English, but I have a non-native accent in my English. So that's again a question. And what is more and more important is these devices are used in noisy environments. How well are they coping in a noisy environment? So these are just different aspects what makes the speech recognition difficult.
네, 보시는 것처럼 다양한 조건들이 있고요. 뭐 억양이라든가 지역에 따라서 또 나라에 따라서 달라지는 부분이 있기 때문에 평가 기준을 어떻게 잡는지가 가장 중요하게 되겠습니다.
So the head acoustics approach for testing the speech recognition is that, again, we want to do the tests in a reproducible and realistic conditions. We want to bring in the tests in the lab where we have a controlled environment. So we have a background noise system that we are using. And instead of having different people talking, we record the speech and we use the dummy head to talk. Because even if I speak the same sentence today and tomorrow, it's not going to be 100% the same. But if I record my voice and then use the dummy head to reproduce it, it's every time the same. So we have a reproducible test scenarios. So we bring in the background noise. Lumbard effect is a very interesting aspect in speech recognition. Lumbard effect means that when we are talking in a noisy environment, we talk differently. And there are three things which change. First of all, volume. If you are in a noisy environment, you talk louder. The second thing what happens is you switch to a higher register. Basically, the pitch of your voice is higher. This is all completely subconscious. It's very difficult to affect it on a conscious level. Lumbard effect is simply something what happens when you are in a noisy environment. So you talk louder, you have a higher pitch, and the third thing which happens is your rhythm of the speech is different. You pace yourself differently. And all this can have an effect for the speech quality, for the speech recognition testing. So this is why, especially in car scenarios, it's important that you create so-called Lumbard recordings so that you can select the closest speech to the actual background noise level.
네, 지금까지 소개한 장비들을 활용해서 이제 음성 인식을 평가하게 되는데요. 뭐 중요하게 나머지 부분들은 오전에 다 설명을 해드렸고요. 롬바드 임팩트라고 해가지고 주변이 좀 시끄러우면 더 크게 말한다는 그 효과까지 같이 고려를 해야 된다는 게 이제 여기 주된 관점입니다.
So this one is basically showing the test setup in vehicle. This is now the test setup what I will be basically using here. So in a room for a smart speaker, you would have the background noise simulation. So again, you have the 8 speakers and equalizer. Then you will have the dummy head. And you have the speech assistant. And if possible, you are somehow getting the answer from so when the dummy head says, for instance, what's the weather outside, we want to get that what's the weather outside as a text string out from the device so that we can compare. This way we can do automated testing.
네, 자동으로 이제 저 테스트를 하기 위해서는 이렇게 음성 인식하는 장비에서 이 동작했다는 그 신호 자체를 이제 보카스라는 소프트웨어에 이제 주게 되면 자동으로 실시간으로 이제 테스트를 할 수 있습니다.
So I'm going to skip here a bit because that's not so important. one thing how you can, to do the tests, what you need is a speech database. In our software in VOCAS, you have a possibility of recording there's like a small recording studio inbuilt that you can program in list of sentences, and then you can have people talking to a microphone, and you can do the recording sentence by sentence, and you can create your speech database this way. What many people already have, they already have a lot of noise, a lot of speech files. Very often, it's just a collection of WAV files, and somewhere there is an Excel table then telling what is inside each WAV file. So you might have simply like a WAV file has just a 1, 2, 3, 4, some very simple name, and you have an Excel file which then tells that, okay, this is a male, this is the ID of the person, he's speaking with English or German or Korean, and he's saying this sentence. So there is the sentence what is being said. Bringing in that kind of data is very easy into our software. So if you have a bunch of WAV files and an Excel table which is describing the content of the WAV files, we can very easily read the files into our system and we can generate the database.
네, 가지고 계신 음원을 이제 사용하실 때는 음원에 대한 정보를 넣어주게 되면 나중에 통계적으로 남성인지 여성인지 영어를 사용했는지 그런 통계적으로 이제 계산하기 편하기 때문에 그런 정보를 같이 넣어가지고 이제 사용하실 수가 있습니다.
Also, the VOCAS software, which is the head acoustic software for doing the speech recognition testing, it can remote control all of our background noise systems. So it doesn't matter if you have the HA-BGN or HA-CAR, which is the 202.396 background noise system, or if you have the 3-pass, the newer one, the VOCAS software can remote control the background noise simulation. So you run all your tests from a single source. So this would be a typical test flow for a speech recognition test. First, we start the background noise. Then we activate the ASR. It could be a keyword, or alternatively, it could be that you have to press a button somewhere, but you activate the speech recognition. Then you play back something from the mouth. Then you gather the response from the speech recognition device. Then you compare, you make evaluation, and typically you then stop the background noise and you start a new one. And you run this all over again with different kinds of background noises, and then different people talking from the artificial mouth. So this is how you typically test speech recognition, that you are building statistics that you go through different background noises and you go through different talkers, different languages, and you are looking into correlation in your data. When do I fail? When do I pass? What is the word error rate with different environmental conditions?
네, 포커스는 기본적으로 저 시나리오 툴을 만들어주는 소프트웨어이기 때문에 원하시는 대로 이제 음성을 넣을 수가 있고요. 원하시는 대로 조합해서 만드시면 됩니다.
Yeah. The biggest problem here is getting the feedback from the device under test, because there is no universal interface available. Sometimes the device doesn't have any interface, which means the only way to get the feedback is to look what it's doing. For instance, if it's the head unit in the car, and if you're checking like the competition's vehicle, you have rented a vehicle and you're just running the tests on the speech recognition. When you say call head acoustics, you can only see what the device is doing. There is no other way of giving the feedback. So you need somebody who is giving the answer in VOCAS. Did it understand or not? So you need to hire a student to do this job. Sometimes there is no other way. And even if you have an interface to the device, it might be different from device to device. So you might need to do some modification work in your interpreter depending on the device. So this is a big problem in the speech recognition testing, that there is no universal interface which would give you the access to the what did the device understand or what is it doing. In worst case, you need manual input, and even if you have the access, you might need to modify the interpreter depending on the device.
일단 디바이스 자체에서 이제 동작했다는 신호를 받아야 되는데요. 그거는 이제 제조사에서 만들어야 되고요. 그게 안 되면 이제 실제로 보고 동작했다 안 했다, 이제 수동으로 매뉴얼로 이제 동작했다 이제 안 했다 이제 눌러주게 되면 통계적으로 이제 또 계산을 할 수가 있습니다.
So this is the black box testing, that when you are doing the black box testing, the only way to get the evaluation is by manual input. You have the background noise simulation going, so that's always the same. So that's already a benefit, because sometimes, for instance, the car manufacturers, when they were testing the competition's car, they were on a test track, which of course means you have to book the test track and you need a driver. But if you don't need a driver and a test track, but you take the, you already use a background noise simulation, it's already a benefit. And and very often these tests were also done that you had to get a different person in a car. That person was talking, so you had 3 people in the car. You had a driver, you had the person who was talking to the speech recognition, and then you had a third person with a laptop and Excel to keep track of the performance. But already if you can bring this situation into a lab, and you are using background noise simulation, and you're using VOCAS, you have everything controlled from one single piece of software. So instead of having 3 people in a car on a test track, you have 1 person in a car in the lab. So it's already much better way of testing. It's still not ideal, but it's a big step forward.
보커스는 별도의 소프트웨어이기 때문에 헤드 장비를 가지고 계시면 리모트 컨트롤로 원격 조정으로 주변 노이즈라든가 나머지 부분들을 활용해서 이제 컨트롤해서 이제 측정할 수 있기 때문에 혼자서도 이제 가능하게 됩니다.
Another way is to create automated testing is that if you can get feedback from the device directly. We, for instance, we had one time a case where we were testing the head unit in the car, and it was possible to read. You plugged in a USB, and it was possible to read over serial interface the last recognized sentence. So you could get the last keyword from the device. So what we did is just a bit of hardware, so using a Raspberry Pi in the middle, connected over USB to the car, we could read in the log file, and then from the Raspberry Pi we would go over Ethernet into VOCAS, and we could get the response. So this is one way of doing the testing.
네, 시료에서 이제 동작했다는 신호만 받을 수가 있다면 뭐 파이썬이라든가 나머지 이용해서 이제 동작하는 걸 이제 계속할 수 있습니다.
And then if we have a cloud device, what I will be briefly demonstrating is the device under test is talking with a server in the network, and we can get the information from the server into VOCAS. So this is something that I will be demonstrating. So this is also another way of doing the automated testing if you have a cloud-based device like a smart speaker.
네트워크 기반의 이제 데모를 좀 보여드릴 텐데요. 네, 지금은 이제 서버에 거쳐서 이제 응답되는 신호를 이제 보카스에서 인식하고 평가를 하는 그 방법을 가능하다는 걸 보여드릴 겁니다.
I'll show you the results, how they look in VOCAS, but in the demo, I'll show the test procedure is I will be using the Google Home Mini, which is sitting on the table. Don't worry, the microphone has been off, so the Google hasn't been listening to us. In a short while, I will turn the microphone on, and so it is activated by the keyword OK Google. And then there are different sentences coming from the mouth. So how the test runs is, first I need to initialize the system. So I have basically inside my VOCAS system, I have a script which is logging on into a Google test account and just basically opening a web browser, and so that we can have access to what is the device recognizing. So we do this initialization. So we open a browser and we are logging into a test account that we have set up. The actual test is run like this. Well, I don't have background noise, so I will be skipping the background noise, but I have two playbacks. The first playback is the keyword. It will be OK Google. And then the second playback will be some kind of a command. I think that I will be using what's the weather outside and play Day Tripper from the Beatles. Something very simple, simple commands. Then we will have a short pause because the Google Home has to upload the stuff to the network, and we need to read the result from the network to the laptop. So the Google Home and my laptop, they are now connected over Wi-Fi to mobile hotspot coming from my colleague. So what happens here in the script is that basically we refresh the browser, we read in the last sentence that is recognized, and then we compare, like for instance, if the sentence is "What's the weather outside?" we compare the target sentence and the actual recognition with each other. We calculate word error rate and write the result into VOCAS database. And we run this a couple of times. I'm not going to bore you by running 50 repetitions, but I'll show you how you can easily build up test cases that could run hours and hours. But I'll give you a short demo of that.
기본적으로 특정 디바이스를 깨우기 위한 웨이크업 명령어를 언어를 주게 되고요. 그다음 명령어를 통했을 때 어떻게 인식했는지 그걸 이제 통계적으로 이제 보여드리겠습니다.
So I'll swap from the slides. That was, by the way, the last slide there. I go on to the software. So the VOCAS, the Head Acoustics software for testing speech recognition, is here. I need to connect myself to the hardware. Just a second. So I'm just connecting myself to the hardware so that I can play back something from the mouth. So microphone, and here you can see the loudspeaker is I equalized the mouth yesterday. So I'm using that dummy head as my loudspeaker. And then what I need to do is I need to do the initialization step. So what I do is I run this script. It'll take couple of seconds, But what you see is it is opening the this is not far Google Chrome. So it's opening Google Chrome browser, and it's then logging on to basically a Google account. It's a dummy account that we have created for testing purposes. So you can see it's logging in to the account, and there we can see that what we have been doing over there lately. So what I now do is I will turn on the Google Home's microphone, and I will check it myself if it is connected to the Wi-Fi network.
Argo, the mic's back on.
Okay, Google. What's the weather outside?
Currently in Seoul, it's 12 degrees and partly cloudy. Today, it'll be clear with a forecast high of 12 and a low of -2.
Okay, as you could hear, when you ask what's the weather outside, either it says, I don't have a network, or it will answer with with describing the weather. So that's an easy way of just checking that we are now connected. The Google Home is connected over Wi-Fi, and my computer is connected over Wi-Fi. So we should be able to now proceed with the testing. So the tests are, I have built in here a very simple test. The first step is to wake the thing up, and that is done by using the keyword. I'm not saying the keyword because otherwise it will wake up and ask what I want to do. But I want to make sure that every time when the dummy head says the keyword, it says with a very clear voice, clear, loud voice, because I don't want the keyword to fail. I only want to check what happens with the second sentence. So this is one way how you can modify your tests. What I'm doing now is I have fixed it is one person saying the keyword. So there is no variation. You will hear it's always a male voice which with a very clear voice says the keyword to wake up the assistant. And then we have, here you can see playback 16 different audio sources. So I have here a couple of sentences. There are actually 3 sentences. What's the weather outside? Where's the nearest Starbucks? And then play Day Tripper by the Beatles. So it would be basically asking the Google Home to start a playback from some music streaming service. I'll just make sure that the barging works. Okay, Google, volume down. Okay, let's see if the testing works. So I have here 16 sentences. So I create here a new device. So let's call it University of Seoul. And let's see how it works. Okay, Google. Play Day Tripper by the Beatles.
It looks like you haven't chosen a default music provider. You can do that in the Google Home app, then try asking again.
Okay, Google.
Play Day Tripper by the Beatles.
It looks like you haven't chosen a default music provider. You can do that in the Google Home app, then try asking again.
Okay, Google. Play Day Tripper by the Beatles.
It looks like you haven't chosen a default music provider. You can do that in the Google Home app, then try asking again.
Okay, Google.
Play Day Tripper by the Beatles.
It looks like you haven't chosen a default music provider. You can do that in the Google Home app, then try asking again.
Okay, Google.
Play Day Tripper by the Beatles.
It looks like you haven't chosen a default music provider. You can do that in the Google Home app, then try asking again.
Okay, Google.
Play Day Tripper by the Beatles.
It looks like you haven't chosen a default music provider. You can do that in the Google Home app, then try asking again.
Okay, Google.
What is the weather like outside?
Currently in Seoul it's 12 degrees and partly cloudy. Today, it'll be clear, with a forecast high of 12 and a low of -2.
Okay, Google.
What is the weather like outside?
Right now in Seoul it's 12 degrees and partly cloudy. Today, it'll be clear, with a forecast high of 12 and a low of -2.
Okay, Google.
What is the weather like outside?
Currently in Seoul it's 12 degrees and partly cloudy. Today, it'll be clear, with a forecast high of 12 and a low of -2.
Okay, Google.
Where is the nearest Starbucks?
The address for Starbucks is 25 Taepyeong 1 Il-ga, Yungu, Seoul.
Okay, Google.
What is the weather like outside?
Currently in Seoul it's 12 degrees and partly cloudy. Today, it'll be clear, with a forecast high of 12 and a low of -2.
Okay, Google.
Where is the nearest Starbucks?
The address for Starbucks is 25 Taepyeong 1 Il-ga, Yungu, Seoul.
Okay, Google.
I think a couple of more.
Where is the nearest Starbucks?
The address for Starbucks is 25 Taepyeong 1 Il-ga, Yungu, Seoul.
3 more.
Okay, Google.
Where is the nearest Starbucks?
The address for Starbucks is 25 Taepyeong 1 Il-ga, Yungu, Seoul.
Okay, Google.
Where is the nearest Starbucks?
The address for Starbucks is 25 Taepyeong 1 Il-ga, Yungu, Seoul.
Last one.
Okay, Google.
Where is the nearest Starbucks?
The address for Starbucks is 25 Taepyeong 1 Il-ga, Yungu, Seoul.
So you could notice it did understand absolutely everything. By the way, I'll just shut her up.
The mic's off.
So just turning off the microphone so that I can say now, okay, Google, and it's not reacting. But you could hear from the answers that even though some sentences were, especially the last one, Chinese colleague of mine, we asked her to, her English is actually much, much better than that. But for the database, we said, please speak very bad English, just to have a more variation in the database. And that's exactly how you should also create the database what you have. You should have male, you should have female, you should have young talkers, middle-aged, older people. And you should cover different regional accents and also considering foreign accents, like a Chinese or a Finnish person talking in English, in order to do the tests in a reliable manner. So if we look at the results, if I go to the evaluation, just a second, I'll take here the where's the DUT? There's DUT. So I have been basically testing this one and same device several times. It seems that now I got one test case where we have a bit of a different. Basically, the green one is 0% word error rate, where it understands every word correctly and no errors whatsoever. And then here on the higher side, we have a word error rate of 18.7, so approximately 20% word error rate. So it might be some short sentence where it has understood one word correctly. So what's the weather like outside? It's five words. So if you say the sentence, what's the weather like outside, and one word is wrong, you have a 20% word error rate. So it might be that, for instance, instead of understanding what's the weather like outside, it could be what's the weather outside, like missing the like word. That would already generate 20% word error rate. But you can see that those word error rates are still there in minority. So the idea would be that when you do these tests, you are then looking at these graphs. If you have different devices, you compare between devices, and you can then compare between background noises. Is some background noise more difficult than another one? You can also take all the data, you can take all the results from the software, and you can put it through statistics software like SAS or R. So you can do number crunching, you can do multivariate analysis on the data to find correlations. What kind of situations make it difficult for the device to understand the given sentence? So this just as a small example how the speech recognition is testing. So you're just running these tests in a repetition, different people, different background noises, and you're gathering the data. Typically, you're looking into the word error rate of your results. And that one concludes my presentation. Yeah, so of course, if there are any questions, please do ask. That's why I'm here. I didn't get many questions during the presentation, but if you have any questions now, please do ask. Or if you're afraid to ask in front of the in front of the audience, of course, in the end of the presentation, you will have also my email address. So, like I said, sometimes you might not want to ask a question in front of a bigger audience. So I think you should have this slide also in the material. Yes, there it is. Just before the yellow page, there is the last page with my email address. So. Of course, you can email me at any time later if you have any question, or ask from my colleagues if you prefer to ask your question in Korean. So, thank you very much for attending, and once more, my thanks to the Korean Acoustic Society for sponsoring this event, and for Dr. Lee for inviting me to speak today.